Hello my dear students, today we are going to deal with the chapter 1.5 Mrs. Addis, written by Sheila K. Smith. She was an English novelist and a poet, and many of her novels were set in the borderlands of Sussex and Kent. So her most famous book is The End of the House of Allard. Let's understand the chapter in detail. I am referring to page 44 of the textbook. Mrs. Addis. In the northeast Sussex, a great tongue of land runs into Kent. So, as I said earlier, you will find the mention of these places, Sussex and Kent, many a times in her novel. So, there is a great stretch of land, okay, and it's a land of woods. So, it's a forest area, and it's known as a Hammer Woods, and also there is a pond nearby which is known as a Hammer Ponds. So, there is along this thickness of this wood there is a road which is going to Mrs. Addis' cottage, which is very dark. So there's no twilight, there's no moonlight, there is no moon except a few pricks of fire meaning some stars are there, and there is absolute pitch darkness, and it's absolutely silent, such that even when a dog is barking somewhere distant in the Delmondon, that's a village, if you hear a dog which is barking which is very far off, you could feel that it is standing very close. Okay, now there is a man who is now making great efforts in being very quiet as possible, but you see the road is full of thorns, and because of that, as you step on it, you can hear the crackling and the rustling sound of it. So he wants to go as slow as possible, but he cannot slow down because he is running away from something. So he cannot run fast, and he cannot go slowly because there is a lack of time as well. Now he has come in front of Mrs. Addis' cottage. There is a small patch of grass leading to her house, and from a distance you can see, from the window you can see Mrs. Addis is stooping over the fire. She has kept some pot or a kettle over it, and here is a man who is quite big in structure, and he is not successful, and you can make out that judging by the poverty of his appearance, so the way he is dressed, you can make out that he is a poor man, and the reason is he doesn't work. That's the main point here. What he does is he thinks of approaching her through the window, but in second thoughts he says no. He thinks of going straight away and without knocking in. So he goes inside, and the woman is standing is in the kitchen near the fire, and she is like a little startled up, and she turns behind and she finds Peter Crouch. So she definitely recognizes the man, that he is Peter Crouch. And what you, Peter Crouch, he says, I didn't hear you knock. But then he says, I didn't knock, ma'am. I didn't want anybody to hear. There is a reason for him saying that. Okay, because if he would knock, somebody would hear him. He didn't want nobody should hear him. Okay, so everything was very secret and silent, and then he confesses openly that he is in great trouble, and he is seen trembling, and he openly says that he has shot a man. I shot a man, Mrs. Addis. So the next question is, she is also a little shocked, and she says, did you kill him? Says, I don't know. And there is some silence for the moment because murder has been committed. A little description about the woman is given. She is brown, hard face. Her skin has dried. There are innumerable wrinkles on her face, and the thing is, she says the life is really hard for some people. But life treats some women hard in the agricultural districts of Sussex, and Mrs. Addis' life was also equally hard because she was a single parent and nobody to look after. So life has been really hard for her. The only thing which he requests her is, can she allow him to be here for a while till they have gone? And very politely he requests, is there no way can you put me till they have gone? Then she asks, who are they? The keepers are like the security guards. Okay, so she senses that this fellow must have had some fight with the keepers. So she asked him, did you quarrel with the keepers? And says yes. And they found me, and there were four, and I was the only one, and I had the gun with me, and they ran for it. They are after me and they can't be far off. So he's very scared that any moment they could come and catch hold of him, and that's why he wants a place to hide. um, and then, like, even more sympathetically, uh, Peter Crouch says, you might do it for Tom's sake, if not for me, but you will do it for your son. And but then she says, you've never been a good friend of Tom. In return, Peter says, Tom has always been good for me, good to me, and so for his sake, please, can you keep me here? And so she thinks for a while and she says, okay, you can be here till the time he is back. So he is going to be back home in an hour. Until then, he says he's got time to think as to where he can go. Okay, so then what she does is she leads him into a small shed that is behind the cottage. She opens that and he says, you can stay here. And there are some sacks in that shed in that room. And what he does is he just falls asleep over the sacks, and at the same time he could see something. The beautiful smell, aroma from the kitchen was coming. So you know that whenever there's a guest, there is no way that you wouldn't offer some food to your guest. He has fallen, he has dozed off, but then suddenly he hears some noise, and he wakes up suddenly, and there is a guess that maybe it is the keeper standing outside. So Mrs. Addis just peeps out of the window and says, they were the keepers. And then she says, mm, maybe it would be better if you would go to Canceron and get over to Kent, and there's a London train. She says there's a London train that comes from Turnwell Bridge at 10 o'clock, so you can catch the train and just go from here. But then Peter says that I don't have the money for buying the ticket. So she opens the kitchen drawers, and there are 7 shillings, and she says this would be enough for you to go to London. And then he says, I hope you will not fall into trouble because of this. And she's waiting for Tom to come. And meanwhile, when she opens the door again, she hears some noise. So she thinks that it must be Tom, but then she hears some 2-3 voices. And so she tells him, now you better get back to the shed again. And so unwillingly he goes back to the shed. Then Peter is really curious, because he is very anxious and curious to know actually who are the people who are standing out. He goes back to the shed, and he can see from the cracks of the wall. Okay. And he could recognize it is Vidler, one of the keepers of Scotney Castle. And when he saw that, he recognized him, and suddenly he grew very cold, because he was like really frightened, and he thought for himself, why couldn't he think of a better place? He could have thought of going somewhere else. And suddenly he felt that his legs are shaking and they refuse to support him. And the man has come inside, and he has quickly shut the door, and he is finding it very difficult to speak. He is standing there silently twisting his cap. So this is creating a kind of anxiety in Mrs. Addis, and she says to speak up. Well, he keeps on saying, and then he remains tongue tied. But then he gathers some courage and he says, I have brought you a bad news, ma'am. And then suddenly Mrs. Addis' expression changes. And what? Is it Tom? Is he outside? What do you mean? He's outside. That's what the keeper says. He's outside. What do you mean? So he tries to stop her from going out. Don't, man, not until I have told you. And but then Mrs. Addis is grown real impatient and she wants to know what has happened, and she says, for mercy's sake, please let me out. And she just pushes him and goes out. We shall stop here and continue in the next video lecture.